Today on the program, Renault unveils the all-new Dacia Duster in India, which is much more modern than our European version. Tesla is releasing a more affordable Model 3 with 200-kilometer less range and a price nearing 25,000 euros. Bertone presents a car with a supercharged V6, a manual gearbox, and pop-up headlights. And finally, the government is starting to slightly backtrack on the ecological penalty. In Europe, we know the Duster as that good old faithful dog, not very sophisticated, but solid, always ready to fetch bread in the mud. In India, Renault just gave it a tuxedo. Renault has just unveiled an all-new Duster, designed exclusively for the Indian market. Over there, the Duster is moving straight to its third generation. Meanwhile, our European Dacia will have to wait until a facelift in 2027 to hope for a few crumbs from this feast. Renault has a strong reason to launch the new Duster in India first, where over 200,000 Dusters have been sold since 2012. That represents about 10% of the model's total global production. Not bad for a country where, in 2012, SUVs made up 12% of the market compared to 55% today. India has become the third largest car market in the world. Needless to say, Renault doesn't want to show up looking unprepared. And the first stylistic surprise at the front? No Renault logo, just a single word. Duster, and visually, this Indian model aims for the big leagues. A massive bumper and imposing skid plate are designed to make the SUV look more premium. Inside as well, forget about the hard plastic like camping furniture. The Indian Duster adopts the high-tech world of the latest Renault models. A 10.25-inch digital instrument cluster, a 10.1-inch central touchscreen, and the center console has been modernized. A sliding armrest appears. The door panels use nicer materials, making our European Duster look much worse by comparison. Next, under the hood, 3 powertrains are planned at the top of the range. A 160-horsepower full E-Tech hybrid. This engine is already known from the Clio Capture and Symbiosis. At the entry level, there's a 1-liter turbo 3-cylinder gasoline engine with 100 horsepower, a 6-speed manual gearbox, and 160 Nm of torque. Simple, efficient, no frills. Above that is a 1.3-liter turbo 4-cylinder, making 160 horsepower and 280 Nm of torque. Your choice of a manual or dual-clutch automatic transmission. However, there's no liquefied petroleum gas version or 4x4 transmission for now. In summary, the Indian Duster is now more luxurious, advanced, and prestigious. And if everything goes well, part of this move-up market could cross the oceans and arrive here in 2027. Hopefully, the prices won't skyrocket along the way. Then a few weeks ago, Tesla launched its entry-level version of the Model 3 with the standard version. It's currently available in France for 33,400 euros, which is almost the same price as a well-equipped Renault 5. In other words, it's hard to beat Tesla if you exclude Musk's very divisive personality, but Tesla could make an even bigger impact because they just unveiled an even more entry-level Model 3 in South Korea made in China. Obviously, it's designed for one thing only, to bring prices down. List price is about $25,000 before incentives, but at that cost, there are trade-offs. First, the range. The new Model 3 Standard offers 583 kilometers, a worldwide harmonized light vehicles test procedure. Though it currently has no trim name, let's just call it Model 3. It's quite affordable. The range drops to 382 kilometers. The calculation is simple, 200 kilometer less. Performance drops slightly, 0-100 km/h in 6.2 seconds, was 5.2, top speed 201 km/h. So apart from a smaller battery, this really affordable Model 3 has the same features as the standard European Model 3 with one exception. Front seats are now manually adjustable and remain heated but aren't ventilated. The only interior option is the same black fabric upholstery. The ambient lighting is gone and there's no screen for the rear passengers either. Let's close our eyes for a moment and imagine this model arriving in France or Korea with a list price of around $25,000. With our value-added tax European margins and transportation, we'd logically end up with a French price of around 27,000 euros, according to analysts. After deducting the 350 euro CEE bonus, the Model 3 isn't eligible for the full bonus because it's currently made in China. At that point, the 25,000 euro Model 2, which some still await, would lose its appeal. Should Tesla bring the lower-range Model 3 to Europe? Share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's talk about a car that looks like it came straight out of a 1970s dream. But underneath its retro exterior, it hides modern engineering. Sharp and almost bold, here is the Bertone Runabout, a compact neo-retro sports car. And get this, it has pop-up headlights. Yes, just like when designers used to draw cars with a ruler, a cigarette, and little concern for safety. Pedestrians meet the new generation Runabout. Bertone teased this a year ago, and now it's real, available in 2 versions. A completely open barchetta, minimalist, hair in the wind, and a targa with a removable roof for those who like the wind in their hair but not in their teeth. The design pays tribute to a legendary 1969 concept created by Marcello Gandini. Back then it was based on a Fiat, and today we're moving up to a higher category. A Lotus chassis with a new extruded bonded aluminum platform custom fitted by Bertone. Add to that a carbon fiber body, and you get a featherweight of 1,057 kilogaussers. All that for just 3.99 meters long and 1.11 meters high. The car's rear is wider than the front, resembling a sprinter ready to leap. And now, under the hood, or rather behind the seats, the heart, that might be a bit disappointing. A 3.5-liter Toyota V6, extensively modified by Bertone, with 475 horsepower and 490 Nm of torque. Power goes to the rear wheels via a 6-speed manual with a traditional metal gate. No paddles, no intrusive electronics, just you, your right hand, and crisp gear shifts. We might have preferred an Italian V6 to better honor the 1960s concept. Still, performance is impressive. 0-100 in 4.1 seconds top speed, 270 km/h. To manage all that, double wishbones, adjustable shocks, anti-roll bar, it's a true driver's chassis, not just for show. You can see Gandini's signature wedge-shaped lines, a hallmark of Italian design's wild years. The barchetta stays the most faithful to the original, the targa. It adds a cleverly designed carbon roof that doesn't break up the silhouette. And now, the part that hurts a bit more. Only 25 units, 390,000 euros each. It's pricey, but it's a Bertone. It's a tribute to the golden age of automotive design and likely one of the last modern sports cars with a supercharged V6 manual gearbox and pop-up headlights. And finally, surprise regarding the ecological penalty, the government is easing up a bit. The 2026 draft finance bill is less harsh on the automotive world than expected. The planned 2028 increase of the ecological penalty, with a cap possibly over 100,000 euros, is no longer in the final text. A reversal during budget talks. But for professionals in the sector, the effort is still insufficient. The National Assembly approved the 2026 budget is revenue section via Article 49.3, with leaders making several changes, especially to automobile taxation. Among them is dropping the planned extreme penalty tightening for 2028. However, the tightening does not disappear completely. Starting in 2027, the 5 penalty threshold will be lowered by another 5 grams per kilometer, and the ceiling will rise to 90,000 euros. That being said, the National Automobile Federation, which supports industry professionals on a daily basis, is now calling for a complete freeze on automotive taxes, starting in 2026. With the current rates maintained, which, between us, are already high enough for the F&A, continuing to raise taxes makes buying newer vehicles even more out of reach for many households. Secretary General Aliousso warns of a major automotive crisis risk in France. If no tax break is granted, the opposition is even stronger regarding the vehicle weight tax. The FNA criticizes a system it considers typically French, disconnected from real usage and the technical constraints imposed by waste.
De sécurité ou encore l'hybridation. Selon elle, ce malus pénalise des modèles largement plébiscités par les acheteurs et crée une redondance fiscale, le poids entrant déjà indirectement dans le calcul des émissions de...
Fed therefore calls for the outright removal of this tax, or at the very least, its suspension, pending a complete overhaul of automotive taxation, a request that has little chance of succeeding. The weight penalty scale became stricter on January 1st and now starts at 1.5. Only the planned extension of this tax to certain electric vehicles starting July 1st would have been temporarily set aside during the budgetary decisions. So, should the penalty system in France be completely revised? Give me your opinions in the comments. Thank you all for watching this new video. Don't hesitate to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to make sure you don't miss anything. Bye.